If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide. With this podcast at your side, you'll be on your way to being qualified. It's the Aspiring Psychologist podcast with Dr. Marianne Trent.
Hi, welcome along to the Aspiring Psychologist podcast. Today is going to be quite a raw and honest podcast episode. I hope you find it useful, and I hope that you're able to use it and the approaches within it to reflect perhaps in your own practice, or perhaps going through your day-to-day life in a mindful way, perhaps in supervision, perhaps as a reflective journal exercise. But I try to showcase the way that I live my life and how I use my own knowledge, not only for the clients I work with, but also for myself. And that is the topic of today's episode, is when you can use your own knowledge to apply to yourself or to help work out what might be going on with you. So here goes. I thought we would do this by looking at my life and my behavior through a few key areas, key times where I wasn't feeling tip-top. Okay, so let's think about the first one that comes to mind, and it is in 2013. And at that point, I have got a 6 weeks old baby, my first child, and I had no sleep for precisely 6 weeks and about 2 days. I had only just been able to start driving again because I'd had an emergency section, and you can't start driving again until you've been signed off as safe to do so, and that's usually around your 6-week check. So I was like home with my baby, who I was just on cloud 9 with. So despite the fact that he was an utter sleep thief, at worst he woke like 31 times a night. He was an absolute terror when it came to nighttime. He also didn't really like nap times very much either, but at all other times he was joyful. He was so smiley and gorgeous, and I just adored being his mummy. I still do. It's just, I just felt like it's just me and him. So I am married. I was still married at the time, but it was just this unique adoration, just like amazing. It's just like we'd both landed on like planet perfection, apart from and aside from the fact that he did not sleep. And I was like, well, who is this child? Because I love sleep. Prior to becoming a mummy, it was not unheard of me to have a lie-in on days when I wasn't working, and then wake up and then have some breakfast and then have a nap, and then sometimes I'd even have an afternoon nap and then I'd go to sleep and sleep all night long. I loved sleep. So to then have this child who really was not finding sleep that natural, which I know is really common, I just was not prepared for how exhausting that would be. I don't know if you've ever been that tired, but when I reflect on that time, I think about it, not necessarily so much in the first 6 weeks, although it was difficult to begin with, but it went on until he was 20 months, his sleep chaos. But at times, if it'd been particularly wild at night, there'd been many wakings, perhaps after only 40 minutes of my sleep, for example. So I was just really shattered, and I just felt cold to my bones. Even on a warm day, I felt like head fog, and I was more likely to eat rubbish because of the unique way that our ghrelin, how do you say it? I have no idea, but it's a hormone which is really indicated in our eating, and our eating hormone suppressant when we've had enough to eat. But there's also leptin as well, which I believe is quite indicated in appetite. And both of those hormones are affected when we are very tired. So we might find that there's some evidence even that people at buffets, if they've been sleep deprived, will consume more calories than people who've had, 7.5 to 8 hours plus sleep per night. So yeah, this stuff matters. So the time I'm telling you about is when he was just over 6 weeks old. I'd been able to get out and about in my car, so I'd been to a breastfeeding support group and was just trying to work out why it was all still kind of quite painful. And very quickly, he was assessed by a lactation consultant. She was like, he's got a posterior tongue tie. And yeah, there's some people that don't think that's a thing, but I could promise you from the state of my body at that time, it's a thing. I absolutely am on board with that being a thing, and it should not have been hurting me as much as it was. And on that same couple of days, it might maybe even have been the same day, he was assessed by the GP for his kind of 6-week check, and they kind of said, "Oh, I think he might have a bit of a squint in his eyes. He's not focusing quite right. We'd have expected it ordinarily to have corrected by now." So babies are often born that way, but usually by about that age, it's sort of corrected itself. And I remember bathing him that night in the bath and just crying, really. I was thinking, oh, this like perfect baby now potentially needs some kind of minor surgery to his tongue and might need to have all sorts of appointments to help correct this squint. And I just thought, oh, this is really sad. I'm really sad. I'm really, really sad. And then and of course, I was really tired. I was meeting a friend who is a fellow clin-psych and is now a mother, but wasn't at the time. I was meeting her for lunch in town. I think probably the following day or soon after that. And we just sat there and I just had a good old cry. And she was worried about me and my mental health at that time. I think she thought I was perhaps, developing postnatal depression, or I wasn't coping very well. So she wasn't worried that I was a concern to my baby. She was just worried about me as a friend and worried about me because of her knowledge of psychology too. But I was able to use my theory and my reflections to know I wasn't experiencing depression at that stage. So I think an outsider and a GP, if I'd been honest with them at that point, they might well have just indicated, suggested that that's postnatal depression, But actually I knew for me that it wasn't, because I was still finding joy in him and in activities. I was still eating. I was still sleeping when I could. I was just reacting to what felt like 2 quite big hiccups with my baby, with his health. And it just took a little bit of time to adjust for that. And by 8 weeks, his tongue procedure had been done and things had settled down a bit. And I was hoping that that might improve his sleep. And of course it didn't. But then he was feeding better. And so my body was more comfortable. And so I just really felt like I really moved into just my flow of being a mummy, even though I was a tired mummy at that stage. And so things got better at that point, and more effortless, and there was still so much joy and adoration around, despite the fact that he was an absolute sleep monkey. Now, thankfully, his squint did sort itself out, so he never needed any treatment for that. It did resolve, which I was really pleased about. But I think I could easily have been pathologized at that stage as being depressed, but I was able to use that to know that I was just reacting to life events. And that is not to disparage anyone who is experiencing postnatal depression at all. This is just my observation of knowing my own self really well, and knowing, the markers for depression, and feeling that they didn't apply to me. It didn't, it wasn't depression I was experiencing, because we must allow and tolerate that our lives will have ebbs and flows, that sometimes we will feel better, sometimes we will feel worse. And it's the good times that highlight the bad times, but it's also going through the bad times which really highlight the great times, isn't it? If you can reflect on some of the happiest times in your life, perhaps it's when you've been in the first flushes of new relationship, or you've just moved house, or you've got a new job and you just are so delighted, you reflect on how easily things seem to come to you, how easily you'll smile at that point, and how easy you find it to talk about yourself, and how joyful you find things, and how much joy you're able to find in yourself and in your activities and in the things you do with people. And sometimes you just can't keep that smile off your face, and that's a really, really lovely life stage, and you must breathe into that. You must lean into it. You must recognize it. It's okay to mindfully celebrate and reflect upon and kind of draw down upon those really good felt times, to be able to draw on and reflect upon, and to help you through times that feel less good. You just know that better times are coming, whatever you're experiencing right now. There's always hope. I firmly believe that. So let's break here for a short little snippet where we talk about the Aspiring Psychologist Collective book, and I will be back along very, very shortly to talk with you about some more observations and reflections about my own mental health and my well-being journey.
If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide, filled with lessons and experience that will help you get qualified. So come and take a look. It's right here in this book. It's the Clinical Psychologist Collective. It's the Clinical Psychologist Collective.
The Clinical Psychologist Collective book was a very helpful read and useful to step outside of the prep work for the Declin Psy application process, to really consider if this is something you want to do and reflect on your personal journey. It is a very nice read and kept me company on train journeys. I do think Marianne's guidance through her podcast, compassionate Q&A sessions, and this book has played a part in my successful application this year. Thank you.
If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide, filled with lessons and experience that will help you get qualified. So come and take a look. It's right here in this book. It's the
Welcome back along. Thank you for staying tuned in, and I hope you found that useful. So let's think about what I'm not saying during this episode. So I'm absolutely not saying that it's not possible to develop mental health difficulties. I'm absolutely not saying that there's anything wrong with you or other people if they do. What I am talking about is using our extensive skills and training to try and do a bit of an audit of ourselves, really, and to look at using those skills in really being really super self-aware and reflective to kind of act as early help for yourself. And for me, I think about it as almost like daily gardening, really, for my mental health, just having a little bit of an overview of where I'm at. And I think that it can be, really helpful to have this sort of approach and this sort of reflective style and space. And for me, I think it really helps make sure that what I'm experiencing as a state, and when I say state, I don't mean like, they were in a right state. Although that's probably where it originates from. A state is just, something we're doing right now, but stops it from tipping over or developing into a trait. So for me, depression is when, certain behaviors and symptoms and patterns of thinking and interacting start to become more entrenched, and so they're becoming, or they have become, or it seems like they are, traits, like it won't change, that it's static. And for me, it's getting in ahead of that with myself, to really do what I can do, to stay on top of that, and to practice what I preach, I guess. And I guess it might be useful for you to use some of these approaches with yourself, and to be as open as I am being, and to practice, if it feels safe, being as open as I am being in your supervision sessions, if that feels safe to do so. That said, if you do want to register for my supervision guide, which can help you shape your supervision relationships, then head out to the details in the show notes, or head to my website, and then it's just /supervision. So yeah, let's crash on with the rest of the episode, but just wanted to add that caveat so that you knew that I wasn't being all hatist at all. Absolutely not. Got stacks of compassion for people that are experiencing mental health difficulties and distress, but this is some of the ways that I don't like the grammar there. I feel like I'm gonna edit that, but I'm not going to edit it out because I'm not super perfectionistic. So these are some of the ways that I use to just do a bit of weeding, just to gently cogitate, assess, think, what's going on? You've been a bit crankier than usual lately, Marianne. What do you think that might be about? And I think it's about that gentle curiosity that I would apply with clients as well. Well, why don't we try and do that for a bit, and we'll just see whether that helps. And so that's what I would expect from myself, and that's what I would suggest can be useful when you're also working in mental health services and trying to look after yourself as well. So let's crack on, and just wanted to add that because it felt really important. So the second time I'm going to talk to you about is something more recent, actually. So it was in the run-up to the summer holidays, 2022, and I just had started to recognise that I was a bit grumpier than I ought to be, So my baseline is usually pretty cheery. I'm usually pretty easygoing. I usually smile quite often and, can find the humour in most situations. And I just was like a bit irritable. And I was like, well, am I being irritable, or is everyone around me actually really annoying? You know, how do you discern that? Is it me that's the problem? Or are they all really annoying? You know, I've got 2 kids and a husband. Is it just them? Am I the problem? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure it's me. Like, I don't know. But I thought, well, let's have a look at your life, Marianne. Let's think about what might be going on to see if this could be you, actually. So I did a little bit of a dissection, really, and it might be helpful at this stage to have a look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at the bottom of that pyramid, I often do this with clients, not about myself, obviously, but with them, we look at the physiological needs, which is air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Then the next one up, we've got safety needs, which is personal security, employment, resources, health and property, love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. Next one up is esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength and freedom. And then right at the top, we've got self-actualization, the desire to become the most that one can be. And so I was thinking, well, where am I doing really well at the moment? And I'm going to cite that one of the problems was Love Island, people. Ordinarily, my natural bedtime would be about 9:15, but when Love Island's on, it doesn't finish till 10 p.m. and I can't be catching up on TV every day because I'm very busy. And so I was watching it live with my husband. We're both Love Island fans. Big news just in is that Laura Whitmore is not doing it next year. Who's going to present? Will it be Ekin Sue? I heard yesterday. I think that might be quite good. I might be on board with that. But yeah, my sleep suffers. I get less of it, so to speak, during Love Island, and not for the reasons you think, just because it's later. So it pushes back my bedtime routine by an hour, really, almost an hour. And, also in the UK, since July, it's been unbearably hot. And in my 20s and when I was a teenager, I loved hot weather. I was a real sun bunny. I adored it. But now that I am older than mid-20s, I just don't like it. It is not for me. I am not here for that. Anything over 24, and I am like grumpy. I like to be a bit chilly in bed and to be all snuggled up and have a duvet. I can't wait. I can't wait to need a duvet again. I cannot wait. I literally am kind of hallucinating about how wonderful that's going to be. And then in the next breath, I'm like, but then we might need heating, and the heating's going to be expensive. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to autumn when we don't need heating, but we can luxuriate in long trousers and blankets and pillows and that aren't covered in sweat and duvets that are wonderful. So I blooming can't wait. So yeah, my sleep was being impacted on by that. So yeah, I decided to take that on board once Love Island was finished. Let's not go wild. I'm not quitting mid-series. But I decided to get my sleep hygiene back on board. So I'm never really a caffeine drinker anyway. I have the occasional cup of green tea. I don't eat much chocolate. But yeah, I decided to see if I could start going to bed slightly earlier again. And I have done that. And I looked at my food. So if you've been following me on Instagram, Dr. Marianne Trents, where all the good stuff happens on Insta, I decided to start trying to eat a bit better. So I decided to start trying to eat a bit more fruit and veg. And a couple of years ago, I was doing a 10 a day. So eating 80 grams of 10 different fruit and veg for a whole year. I did it for a whole year. And at that point, I thought, I'm never going to change back. Well, this is just going to be me forever now. Like, this is going to be where it's at. I can't see me ever changing, ever having this be any different. But then, of course, like anything, things do change. So once I'd done the year, things slipped. And before you know it, I was back down to probably eating a few portions a day. But I just thought, you know what, I'm going to look at what changes I can make right now to really give myself the best chance of meeting my nutritional needs to support my optimal functioning, which is what this is about. And so I started taking vitamins every day again. And because I was going to say an older lady. I'm not an older lady, but I'm 41. So got to be thinking about our bone density. Started taking some calcium and vitamin D as well alongside that, and some fish oils. But also I decided to buy a slow juicer. And if you'd like some more information about my slow juicer, you can find that in the show notes. We'll pop that in there for you. But yeah, slow juicer. And started doing some juicing. And I've been really enjoying that. So I've been adding to my stories some other bits and pieces that I've been eating and drinking, but really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm not going to go all renegade and say I'm going to do it every day for the rest of my life like I did with the 10 a day, but I certainly am enjoying that, and so I'm going to continue that. So that's probably it for the bottom section. I am not employed, I am self-employed, but I was feeling safe. I was feeling healthy, so I'm in good health. But I decided I would start running again. So I'm doing strength training, but over the summer I'm only doing once a week, not twice, because I got kids, man. I got 2 of them. And so to be around for them a bit more often, I was doing strength training in the middle of the week, whereas I'd usually do it twice a week. And I decided, well, I can start running again. So I can start running before I start work, or if I'm not working, I can do it at the weekends before I get showered and things. So I started running again, and I'm not a marathon runner. I'm not very good at it, if I'm honest. It's not really about that for me. It's not about the speed. It's not about the distance. I only run for about 15 minutes. It's about moving my body and knowing that my mental health responds really well to having been run like a dog, like getting out, getting some fresh air, having that time to think, oh look, there's blackberries growing on that bush, or oh, there's a dog through there, miss that, avoid, or just saying hi to people in the street, and catching flowers coming out for the first time, and watching the way the breeze moves the trees, and noticing how parched all of the grass is and stuff at the moment. So getting out and about is really useful for me. I respond well to that. But depending on your own unique physiology and your physical health, you may not be able to do that. But still, moving your body is really useful for our mental health. I almost said yental health then, mental health. So yeah, could you look to do that as well? Love and belonging. So yeah, I felt like me and my husband are in a pretty good place. We've been together almost 13 years and married almost 10. So it's certainly not the first flash of love, and we have got 2 children. But yeah, I felt like we were good enough where we're at. We like each other. We still make each other laugh. We like spending time together. We do tend to protect at least an hour together each evening when we're both in. We're usually both in to spend time together. Before we had kids, we'd do like cool stuff, like play rummy, have a glass of wine maybe sometimes, and play downfall. You won't beat me at downfall. Don't think you can, because you won't. Very rarely does anyone beat me at downfall. But yeah, we'd spend time doing stuff other than watching TV. But largely these days, we do watch TV. But we spend time together usually on a Saturday, and we'll have an earlier tea together, just me and him, once the kids are in bed. And then we spend time together then as well. So I felt like that was good. But I recognised that even though I've got loads of friends, that most of them are not on my immediate doorstep. But I'm very, very fortunate that one of my children has got a best friend, and it just so turns out that me and his mum get on really, really well. And so I decided that we'll start spending some more time together as well. It doesn't just need to be when the kids are together. And so we've been planning more time together. We're off out together for dinner for the first time this coming Friday, actually, as I record this. And yeah, I went round to see her the other day on her birthday, and we just laughed our heads off. Like, it's just really nice to be able to have a friend right on my doorstep. So yeah, I've got friends that I trained with that are living locally to me. But when I say locally to me, it's still about half an hour away, and half an hour away may as well be 3 hours away, because I still wasn't seeing them. But I did make a trip to go and see 2 of my friends who live about half an hour away, and really, really enjoyed connecting with them. And yeah, right at the start of the summer, I went away and connected with 3 of my undergrad friends, and we went and stayed away in a beautiful little cottage with a hot tub. It was really nice. So just really looking at where I could thicken the narrative around my friendships, to make sure that I was checking off that area of the Maslow's hierarchy, and yeah, continuing to plan in activities that are enjoyable and things to look forward to. So yeah, that's the love and belonging section, and the sense of connection and all of that. And then really enjoyed our little family holiday as well, when we went down to East Wittering, spending time together, and also having a bit more sleep as well, which topped up those needs. And yeah, just a more relaxed pace of life. So you will know that I like to get things done. There's always busy plates spinning in my life, be they personal or professional, or both. It's just nice to take my foot off the gas for a bit and just lean into being on holiday. Self-esteem, I feel like I respect myself, feeling all right. Yeah, feeling okay with what I'm doing. And self-actualization, I absolutely, even when I was feeling a bit wobbly and a bit moany, and I still wanted to do well. It wasn't like I was saying, oh, I can't do that and I mustn't do that. I just was a bit concerned about my general levels of irritability. And I can report, I'm recording this at the end of August, I'm feeling really good again. So maybe it was me, or maybe the children not being at school and not having to hustle them out the door is meaning they're less annoying. They are causing me to be less irritated. We are spending time together. And so they've got my attention. I'm always quite careful that at the end of every day at bedtime that we have a little review of the day. And, we'll say, what's our favourite part of the day? What's our least favourite part of the day? My eldest tries to chuck in, what is my funniest part of the day? And I'm like, baby boy, life's not that funny when you're 41. Like, it's very rare that I'll laugh my head off uncontrollably. I wish that happened more often. I do find myself quite amusing. But yeah, life's not as spontaneously gleeful as it is when you're 9, or when it is when you're 6. So often I'll say, no, we're not doing the funny one today. So we do the best part of it, which is probably a bit miserable. You're like, Marianne, that's so grumpy. So yeah, maybe I just need to find more opportunities to laugh in every given day. But the kids are always a bit disappointed if my favourite part of the day is not with them. It's something different. But I think that is role modelling appropriate, that they are not the kings of this world, and that there can be joy found outside of being their mother. Good job I don't rely on them solely for my joy. They eat a lot of it. Eat my joy. Which, if you're not a parent yourself, you might be like, how could she speak about her children like that? But they're like Pac-Man. They gobble up your free time, they gobble up your money. They get me a drink. Oh, no, darling, let's try again. Ask me again, please. Can I have a drink, please? And I was like, oh, suppose so. What did your last slave die of? But if I let them make it themselves, there'll be squash everywhere. But yeah, so largely, I'm happy to be the drinks machine. But yeah, I want someone to speak to me politely. I don't want to be spoken to like a slave, because I ain't nobody's slave. So yeah, I'm sharing this level of vulnerability with you to invite you to reflect on your own Maslow's hierarchy, to invite you to reflect on whether you could be pathologizing yourself, and what control you might be able to have to make changes in your life. So, it's no surprise that people with the best mental health are generally getting good sleep. They are connected to people. They are feeling like they've got a sense of achievement, that they're seeing people that they like regularly, either in person or remotely. They're feeling connected to something. They feel like they are achieving. They are eating good food, and so anytime that I feel like I'm slipping away from that, it's useful just to take a little bit of a look, and to make sure that where possible, I can make tweaks and make changes to get myself, on a more even keel. Because I am 41, I did wonder whether I could be perimenopausal as well. And this isn't really something I'd considered much before. Davina has been talking a lot about that over the last couple of years. And I know she's got a book coming out that I'm quite looking forward to reading as well. It looks pretty as well. I saw her with a copy of it on her Instagram recently. So is that around for me? I don't know. I think my mum went through the menopause. She'd be mortified me telling you this, a bit later than 41. I think she was probably late 40s. I don't think that's the case. Am I just a bit grumpy? Is that? But I feel energized when it comes to my work. I'm not annoyed with you guys. And so is it just that my kids were going through a bit of a grumpy, demanding phase? Were they worn out? Was I worn out from the end of the school year? Have we all responded really nicely to this protracted family time? And that said, I have been able to record this podcast this afternoon. Well, I was going to record it anyway, but instead of ignoring my children, my mother-in-law texted me and said, "Oh, do they want to come over to this afternoon?" I said, "Yes, yes, they do." I'm bringing them now. See you soon. I've been able to record 2 podcast episodes with them not in the house. Hooray! I wonder whether I'll be able to get any editing done before they get home. Probably not. But yes, I can't remember why I told you that. No, can't remember. But could you use these techniques to look at helping you be your optimal self? What tweaks could you make? Let me know, won't you? Come along and discuss it with me on the Aspiring Psychologist community. Should I say in the Aspiring Psychologist community Facebook group? I'd love to know what you think of this episode. Anything that it's evoked or provoked for you. Let's continue this conversation. Thank you for being kind with me as I bare my soul. Looking forward to catching up with you for what will be episode 41 very soon. It's episode 40. How cool is that? Have you listened to all 40 so far? Are you a regular? Let me know. Come and connect on socials. I love celebrating with you. I'm Dr. Marianne Trent most places, but you can check out my link tree, all the details in the show notes. All right, take care. Be kind to yourselves. Thanks for being part of my world. Bye.
If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide. With this podcast Marianne